All Blacks record at Eden Park has been held, folks, with their win over the Wallabies, 33 points to 24. The All Blacks got out to a big lead early, and the Wallabies did their comeback thing, as they have been prone to do this rugby championship. But the Wallabies in the second half, a few too many mistakes, coughing up some penalties, and the All Blacks put on enough of a performance to see them off. I don't think either team will be looking at this performance as their kind of best work, but there is still one round to go, and the All Blacks have put themselves right in the competition for that final week of rugby championship action. And if nothing else, the Bledisloe has been secured for another week. We'll go through some of the key events and stats of the match, and you guys can let us know your thoughts. Cracking start, 5 o'clock kickoff, still sunlight here in NZ. Ronnie Clark, former All Black, father of Caleb, singing the national anthem. Who saw that coming? Caleb was in tears seeing the old man belt out the anthem. He's got quite a set of lungs on him as well. So what a cracking start. An absolute flying start from the ABs, which was pretty pleasing because we've been kind of waiting for things to click a little bit for the ABs, especially after that result a fortnight ago. But the Aussies conceding a penalty, the All Blacks going deep down the Wallabies end, 5 meters out, line out, maul time, and then they spin it wide. The hands click this week, and Caleb Clark, on his return to the All Blacks, is able to go over in the corner. Nice to see the All Blacks going for the jugular early and getting the reward. The conversion hit the post, but 5 points to 0, the All Blacks go up. The Aussies, though, did have their perfect reply because they managed to get themselves a penalty, which they slotted to make it 5-3. So that try suddenly only becomes essentially a 2-point advantage, which is not ideal from an All Blacks perspective, but great to have Cam Roigard back. And honestly, I feel like the All Blacks look like a better team with that guy there. He's a very good halfback, and he's going to lift whatever team he plays for. We've had a bit of a revolving door with the injuries in that position, but Cam Roigard was keeping the pace quick for the ABs. They probably could have scored a try, but ended up only getting a 3-pointer out of a pretty decent period of pressure to make it 8 points to 3. But it was pleasing as an All Blacks fan to see them kind of go through that relentless phase pressure, which has been a little bit lacking this rugby championship. Savia with big carry. Roigard again, he had a wee snipe. And then after he was tackled, Leroy Carter was able to have a wee snipe of his own from close range. Got the All Blacks' second try of the game. And even more pleasing is that whole period of All Blacks' relentless pressure started from Will Jordan winning a high ball from an All Blacks exit kick. So winning a high ball has been something we've been struggling with. Going through phases in the back line we've been struggling with, but we did it. Misconversion again, but 13 points to 3. Starting to look a little bit more comfortable. Gets worse for the Aussies as Tate McDermott has to go off injured. Ryan Lonergan comes on for his debut, which I think has been a long time coming. Fingers crossed he gets some more time in the green and gold. And then a couple of penalties conceded by the Aussies. Wilson with the no arms again. All Blacks not going for 3 points. Again, kind of going for the jugular. A load of faces again, and we're seeing them spread at left side of the pitch, right side of the pitch. And Savia again on the big carry going close. Roigard, he finishes it off from about a meter out. So 20 points to 3. All Blacks at Eden Park looking pretty comfortable in those first 20. But the second 20 was very much a different story. The All Blacks had injuries of their own. Bodie has to go off, replaced by DMAC, and De Groot goes off with an HIA not too long later with a head clash with Fabian Holland, which was pretty unfortunate. But boy, did the Aussies have their wee comeback period in the end of that first half. I mean, them going for touch as well after the All Blacks were pinged at the breakdown for not releasing. And it comes kind of a must-score moment, you feel like, for the Wallabies at 20 points to 3 down. They bloody do. Billy Pollard, he's able to go over after the Wallabies get their maul going. And 20 points to 10 is starting to look a little bit healthier. It's been a thing for the likes of Billy Pollard, especially with his club, with the Brumbies, maul or phases after a maul, whatever he gets going. But 20 points to 10 is, as I said, looking a lot healthier. And then the All Blacks just start conceding penalties, penalty after penalty. McRae is working some of his magic at the breakdown. That means the Aussies have got territory. What can they do? They've got a line out in the All Blacks 22. They almost stole it. I think it was Holland kind of slapped it down, but it ends back in the hands of Billy Pollard. So they are able to go through those phases. And the good thing for the Aussies is their phases are going over the advantage line. Like the All Blacks are making the tackles, but it's passive. They are going backwards through those Aussie carries. James O'Connor, Tupou, Ikitau, his final pass to Potter is an absolute peach of a thing. 20 points to 17. We go into the sheds at halftime. It's not a lead, but it's a hell of a comeback from the Aussies. They were seemingly dead and buried. Those couple of misconversions suddenly looking a wee bit costly from an AB's perspective. The All Blacks have had 55% possession, 54% territory, but at one point in the first half, it was like 78% All Blacks possession because we had all the ball. So the Aussies did well to bring those numbers closer to 50-50 at halftime. The clean breaks is 1 apiece. The run meters is 266 to 200. But the penalty count is 7-4 against the ABs. They have been pinged repeatedly for not releasing. And Piatti has been punishing them for it. Second half, again, more penalties conceded at the breakdown from the ABs. But the Aussies needed to punish and didn't. They had one where they mucked up a line out, and then another one where they got turned over not long later. They had a couple of chances in this game where they missed touch from penalties, unforced errors. I guess if you are going to be that team that cracks Eden Park, you need to be taking those chances. And then the All Blacks get a couple of chances when the Aussies start conceding penalties, slot the 3, make it 23-17, and then made worse for James O'Connor when he kicks the restart out on the full. It's the kind of... Like, if Tane Edmed had done it, he'd be getting more grief because, he's the inexperienced guy from the bench. But James O'Connor's the veteran. He's not supposed to be missing touch. He's not supposed to be, not kicking the thing out on the full. So, yeah, unfortunate for the Wallabies. Then, the All Blacks managed to keep, as I said, James O'Connor's touch finder in not too long later. So, kind of able to keep away from their own red zone. D-Mac slots a penalty on 54 minutes to make it 26-17. It is starting to look a bit more comfortable. Cam Roigard kicks a hell of a 50-22. Not too long later, you feel like the All Blacks probably should have scored from the resulting play because they had a big old overlap, which they seem to blow. The Aussies get a penalty and, they get penalised and they get a yellow card warning for too many penalties conceded. All Blacks go 11 phases, but the Aussies, their defence, credit to them, man, because they held up the ABs. I think it was Leroy Carter held up by Tom Hooper, maybe James O'Connor. Cracking defence under a lot of pressure. And the Wallabies' first chance in bloody ages go down the All Blacks in 67 minutes. And again, it's one where you probably need to score. Geordie Barrett with a left-footed clearance just slices off the side of the boot. It's a terrible kick. It's a mistake, and this time, can they punish the Wallabies? Oh, yes, they can. They get the maul going. Carlo Tizzano was doing it all season in Super Rugby. He barrels over for a Wallabies try, 26-24. Proper game on. But for the Wallabies, Harry Potter gets himself yellow carded. About 5 minutes later, for a ruck infringement, the All Blacks are able to go close, but once again get held up. So you're thinking, man, the Wallabies with this desperation defense, can they hang on? That man, Cam Roigard, he's able to get it from again. About a minute later, some of the best kind of All Blacks passing play we've seen from their back line in a wee while. Just with those lateral balls, guys hitting the line at pace. Roigard finishes at 33-24. That is the final scoring of the game. All Blacks just edge ahead. Some key areas for the ABs if we're looking at the stats in this one, which got right, where they didn't get right against the Box and that hiding they got in Wellington. Line-out this week was 100%. The line-out was atrocious against the Box. Tackle percentages in the 90s. They only missed 12 tackles all game. They missed like 45 against the Box. So it's a key difference for the All Blacks in this one. The Wallabies, in contrast, missed 39 on the initial count. I think they've been averaging around about 19 in this Rugby Championship. So to miss almost 40... it makes it hard to win rugby games. Turnovers conceded as 13 by the Wallabies, 7 by the AB. So again, those kind of errors from the Wallabies, costly. Penalty count flips from the first half. It was against the All Blacks in the first. It's against the Wallabies in the second. Finishes 15-10. All Blacks have got the possession. All Blacks have got the territory. And the kick count was actually pretty low. 18 by the ABs, 13 by the Wallabies. You feel like the All Blacks have been kind of vulnerable under the high balls and whatnot. They did catch some nice ones in this game, but it's not an area that the Wallabies really look to exploit kind of that much. Some of the guys were quite Suaalii only had 12 meters this game on the initial count, which is pretty low. You know, they weren't able to get him into that kind of space. Ikitau looked cracking until he had to go off. McCright made 24 out of 26 tackles, but like Savia, 16 from 16, he makes a cracking turnover at one point in this game, like just 1 second on the ball, and he's over it. Roygaard, I feel like he's a big old difference maker, man. 67 meters, 3 defenders beaten, couple of tries. They only took him off at the end once that final try was secured because he is that kind of key man. But yeah, Eden Park record is once again held, and we look forward to seeing how the final round plays out. We've still got Box against Argentina to come. We'll see what happens with that one, but you guys let us know your thoughts. How do you reckon those two teams are going to go next week over in Perth? And yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.